Yes, Kevin. So this comes from a person who wrote a lot of CSS, but the last time he wrote was any CSS was like 15, 20 years ago, let's say, give or take. Uh, so how do you write CSS today? I'm guessing it's not as more anymore as archaic as I did it, where I literally was writing every single line and curly braces and all those things. So what's the best way to write CSS today?
Very different. CSS, especially from that long ago, was pretty much when the spec was just introduced. There wasn't a lot you could do with it. There was very, very basic things that we were doing when it first came out. And there was a lot of styling that was still linked directly with HTML. Like you'd have a center tag to center text. We had I can't, a marquee, and there was a bunch of silly stuff, but there was like, or there'd be attributes you were putting directly on your tags that were styling it, but they weren't like, it wasn't style equals. It was like, you'd have like your font tag even and other stuff. So it was a different world back then. But even if you go a little bit beyond that to your table based layouts, which were a nightmare. And we've luckily got to Flexbox and Grid now. Yeah, it's much different and much better, I think. It's also I think web development in general is also much more complex than it used to be. 20 years ago, web development was it was HTML, CSS, and some JavaScript, and it was very simple for everything. You didn't do a lot. Now we have all the different tooling. We have 100 different frameworks, and we have all the different. There's just so much going on. It can be overwhelming almost just to make a decision on what tech stack to use for something. And I think CSS is the same way. You have CSS, but then maybe you're doing CSS and JS, which you have 20 different, probably more than 20 different choices. There's preprocessors like Sass or less. There's post processors. There's this added complexity that exists now that never existed back then either, which is good because it makes life easier for some stuff, but also I think is a little bit of a shame because it adds extra complexity that sometimes creates a bit more of a barrier of entry, which can be a little bit hard. But yeah, I think overall we're in a much better place today than we used to be.